So before we talk about different ways to profit from the Great Reset, let's take a step back and talk about what exactly that is. So for those who aren't familiar, the Great Reset is a term that has been tossed around over the last few years. Now, as far as the origin, it actually came from the 50th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in 2020. Essentially, this is a large group of thought leaders and different individuals in charge of large countries coming together to figure out how to navigate the new normal. Now, there is an official plan for the Great Reset, which you can look at yourself, but it basically breaks it down into three different components. Number one is to create more of a stakeholder economy. Number two is emphasis on ESG going forward with our investments. And then number three is harnessing innovations from the fourth industrial revolution. If you guys don't know what some or any of that is, don't worry, we're going to cover all of it in just a little bit. For now, we'll just explain the fourth industrial revolution. What that means is the rapid changes in technology, industry, as well as societal patterns due to increasing interconnectivity and smart automation. So now you understand what the Great Reset is. It's basically this big economic plan where there are tons of very large countries involved. Now let's talk about how you could potentially profit from the Great Reset. Now, real quick, guys, I just have to make a quick disclaimer here that I am not a financial advisor. This video is not any sort of financial advice, and you should always do your own due diligence and research above and beyond this video before making any investment decisions. But first, if you're looking to get an ROI on your money, check out this offer from Stash. Thank you, Stash, for sponsoring this portion of the video. You can get a $50 bonus when you deposit as little as $1 right now. This investing app helps you navigate the world of investing with plans starting at just $3 monthly. With Stash, you don't need a lot of money to start investing. They offer two simple plans that allow you to both save and invest like a pro. So what are you waiting for? Join over 6 million people who know it's never too early to invest in yourself. Click the link in my description below or visit ryanoscribner.com/stash to redeem this $50 bonus offer. Once again, thank you, Stash, for sponsoring that portion of today's video. So the very first investment vehicle to potentially profit from the Great Reset is called I-bonds. Now, you may have never heard of these before, and that's because inflation isn't really something we've had to combat in the past. But now that inflation is so high, a lot of people are looking for ways to essentially protect their savings and the buying power of their money. So one thing that you could do here is put your cash reserve on ice, or at least some of it, allowing you to hopefully outpace inflation, essentially earmarking those funds for a later date. Now, that could mean investing in stocks, crypto, real estate, all sorts of different things. But if you don't plan on investing just yet, putting your money on ice and making sure you're outpacing inflation could be a very solid choice. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably have the tendency to buy the dip a little bit too quickly on different investments. So this could also be an option to essentially protect you from you and make it so you can't just throw your money right back into the market. And with inflation running above 8%, as we mentioned, people are very worried about this deterioration of their buying power. So what a lot of people have done is just blindly thrown their money into the stock or crypto market to try to outpace inflation. But if you look at the year-to-date performance on both, that would have lost you a lot more money than the simple loss from inflation. So since blindly throwing your money into the market isn't a great strategy, this could be a solid alternative, keeping your money on ice. So the full name of this investment vehicle is the Series I Savings Bond, and there's two different rates that are important to be familiar with. The first one is the fixed rate, which stays the same for the life of the bond. The important one is the second rate, which is the inflation rate, which is set 2 times annually, and it's based on the CPI, or Consumer Price Index, aka the indicator we use to track inflation. Right now, that 6-month rate is at 9.62%. Yes, you heard that correctly. 9.62% on a bond guaranteed by the US government. Now, this certainly sounds like a great deal, but there are a few caveats to be aware of before you get super excited about this. First of all, you can only invest $10,000 per year in I-bonds per social security number. So if you have $10,000 or less of an emergency fund or money that you're earmarking for later investment, you could be in good shape here to utilize these I-bonds. If you have $200,000 in cash, putting $10,000 into this product really might not be worth it for you in terms of the fact that the other $190,000 that you have is still sitting in a bank account or somewhere where it's not keeping up with inflation. The second thing to be aware of here is that you can hold on to these I-bonds until maturity, or you can sell them early in the secondary market. The only thing is, if you do sell them early before maturity, you do forfeit the last 3 months of interest that you earned. So let's say, for example, you didn't want to put your money into the markets right now, but you wanted to protect yourself from inflation. You could theoretically put $10,000 into the I-bonds, fully maxing it out for the year, and then over the next 12 months earn that interest rate, and it's going to be right now 9.62, and then it's going to be recalculated later on this year. Assuming 1 year later you decided to redeem those bonds, you would basically lose 3 months of that interest, so you would have earned 9 months instead of 12 full months of that interest. Even so, this is still the best place to park $10,000 right now, fully insured and backed by the US government. However, it just might not be worthwhile for those that have a gigantic cash nest egg that they're looking to protect the buying power of. So, strategy number 1, just to recap, is protecting yourself from inflation via I-bonds while you essentially let the Great Reset play out, which could lead to tremendous buying opportunities across different financial assets. So the second idea to profit from the Great Reset is to invest in innovation. Now, hold on a second, guys. Before you go out there and start blindly throwing your money into crypto and innovation stocks, just like Crashy would, pump the brakes here for a minute, because obviously doing this without a defined strategy or doing it too early could have disastrous results. So before we talk about innovation, we need to recap here and talk about the last economic crisis in 2020. The 2020 stock market crash ended up being a flash in the pan with an abrupt V-shaped recovery, largely based on record monetary policy. And as we now know, this in turn set off the Great Reset. Now, based on this current record inflation we are seeing, the Fed is expected to aggressively tighten interest rates for the rest of 2020. This, among other factors, has caused the biggest crypto drawdown in recent memory, as well as a nasty sell-off in both growth and speculative stocks. Now, all that being said, it's important to keep in mind that Apple and Amazon stock both crashed during the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s. However, if you somehow had the insight to buy those stocks at that time, the return you would have had would have been absolutely unbelievable. So if you have a defined process for researching investments and finding value, coming up in the next 12 to 24 months, let's say, could be one of the biggest opportunities to invest in innovation at some of the best prices in the last few decades. That being said, we are going to see a lot of companies get completely washed out because they were probably operating businesses that would never ordinarily be sustainable in a higher interest rate environment. You could even invest in cryptocurrencies as a method of investing in future innovation. However, just bear in mind right now that the very use case for most cryptocurrencies is being challenged right now. For example, over the last few years, I don't know how many different times I heard people say that Bitcoin was a logical hedge against inflation. Well, if we've learned anything in 2022, it is that is 100% not the case. But that being said, investing in innovation slowly and with a defined strategy could be a way to capitalize on one of the goals of the Great Reset. My advice is simply to be patient, learn, and move slowly, because although innovation happens quickly, people tend to very much overprice these things today. And like, for example, if you were FOMOing into crypto in 2021, had you held off, you would be getting much better prices today. Now, the third and final way to profit from the Great Reset is to start a business. I think one of the biggest lessons that the last few years has taught all of us is that certainty has gone completely out of the window. In the past, most people stick with the job that they may not like for whatever reason for that stability. However, a lot of young people are learning that that stability is just not guaranteed or something that could be relied on today. So instead of working in a job that you don't like without stability, a lot of people are making the decision to start a side hustle and then maybe even transition into that as a full-time business once things are getting off the ground. And this 1099 revolution or work from home movement has essentially opened up an entirely different category for savvy individuals who want to make money without working in a traditional job. And so what I have found so far over my short time on this earth is that times of disruption are usually the best times looking back to have started a business. And that is largely because everything around you is changing largely at the same time. With so much changing quickly and all of these new resources available, it's possible to build and scale a business very quickly in 2022. So perhaps this may be the time to make that investment in yourself and potentially launch that side hustle or business idea. And if you don't quite know what you want to do yet, well, study those very people who have figured out how to work from home or start their own 1099 business, and then you can simply mirror those same strategies. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about these different ideas for profiting from the Great Reset. If you enjoyed this video and made it all the way to the end, make sure you drop a like, hit subscribe, as well as that bell for future notifications. And as always, I hope to see you guys in the next video.